I feel that firearms training, and not just firearms training, but firearms possession and the use of it for protection, is extremely important for the martial arts, especially for modern day martial arts. People that do not integrate this into their training, I feel they are not truly developing themselves to be at their potential in becoming the most, the safest that they possibly can from danger. I mean, it's like trying to go to war without weapons. I mean, if you look at military, like, how can you go to war with another country without weapons? I mean, the weapons are absolutely necessary, you know, to even have a chance to win the war against whoever you're fighting against. Weapons are a necessity. Firearms is a modern day reality of real combat, you know, and this is the technology that we're using today. I mean, and if you don't adapt to that, you know, you're not truly reaching to your potential in real self-defense. You know what I mean? And when you integrate this firearms training into your curriculum, now it's also a big part of it is the law and what the law allows and what they do not allow. And you have to decide whether or not you're going to be following this law. And if you choose to follow the law, then a big part of the martial arts becomes like the guidelines of the law and what they will allow and what they will not. You know, and then comes in to factor just, you know, then it comes into lawmakers and state regulations. And, you know, every single state is not the same. States have different regulations. You know, like, some states will allow certain things and then disallow other things. So then that comes into play and shows like how in reality the same rules do not apply for everybody. Like, there's different rules for different people, and the martial artist needs to learn to adapt to this, you know, based on the circumstances. And that also shows the relevancy of how, like, adapting to change is extremely important for the martial arts. It's not about just sticking to old rules and old traditions and basically training in a certain way until death, where you're not really growing, you know, and learning from your surroundings and discovering like new and better methods of self-defense. You know, so unarmed combat I see is relevant for children because there's no laws out there in the states that will allow children to bear firearms. You know, children are just not allowed to have firearms. So the unarmed combat becomes relevant for them, you know, to defend themselves in bullying type of situations and situations that they may encounter in school, you know, which typically will be a unarmed situation because no weapons are allowed in the school, and it might just be a fist fight or people, multiple people attacking one person, you know. But the reality for adults is quite different than for children. You know, adults have different rules. So children are not allowed to drive a vehicle. Adults are allowed to drive. Children are not allowed to drink alcohol. Adults are allowed to drink alcohol. Children are not allowed to go to war. Adults can sign up to go to war. Children are not allowed to smoke. Adults are allowed to smoke. So adults have different rules. And with the firearms, adults are allowed to carry firearms based depending on the state that you go to, whatever rules and regulations that they have. Now, if you live in a state where they ban firearms for the entire state, then your rules are different than others in other people's states. So then when you train in martial arts, you're going to keep that into perspective, and your training will be adjusted accordingly. But if you live in a state where firearms are allowed, and to be possessed by adults, then firearms training is a necessary, for the martial artist to be proficient in order to reach his full potential in self-defense during dangerous encounters. That's the way that I see it. Without this type of training, the person's not, reaching his full potential as far as survival, self-defense is concerned. But from an artistic standpoint, firearms is not like a chain stick or a nunchaku or a bow staff or even these other weapons that are used for like demonstration purposes, and sometimes they're even expressed in ways where they could entertain people. Firearms is not for entertainment in any way, shape, or form. Firearms is simply for strictly self-defense during survival situations. So firearms training is not really gonna enhance the martial artist's creative expression, but it will take the martial artist to the most proficient level that he is allowed to become by the law. And I see that this is what real martial arts incorporates, and schools that do not incorporate this type of training into their way of teaching is they're not really teaching the true comprehensive martial arts. They are just basically to me it's just a different expression of like it's just like a different expression of like a cardio kickboxing class, a different expression of just a good exercise workout to benefit your health. But it's not there for like true survival situations, of which in modern society incorporates firearms.